Hey everyone, welcome back to Talk English. I'm Sophie and I'm so excited about today's episode because we're going to talk about something super relevant right now, how to talk about the end of the year in English.
And I'm Alex. This is perfect timing because we're right in that season where everyone's reflecting, making plans, and having these meaningful conversations about the year that's ending.
Exactly. And I think a lot of learners feel a bit stuck when they want to express their feelings about the year, you know? Like they know how to say Happy New Year, but what about everything else?
That's such a good point. The end of the year is actually one of those universal conversation topics that comes up everywhere, at work, with friends, even with strangers at parties. So being able to talk about it naturally is really valuable.
So let's start with the basics. When we're talking about the end of the year, what are some natural ways to bring it up in conversation?
Well, the simplest way is just to acknowledge it directly. You can say things like, "Can you believe the year is almost over?" Or, "This year went by so fast." These are super common, and they open up the conversation naturally.
Oh, I love those. They're so relatable too, because everyone feels that way. And you can also say, Where did the year go? Right? That's one I hear all the time.
Absolutely. Where did the year go is perfect because it's a rhetorical question. You're not really expecting an answer, you're just expressing surprise at how quickly time passed. It's very conversational and natural.
Now, what about when people want to reflect on their year? Like they want to talk about the good things or maybe the challenges they faced.
Great question. For positive reflections, you can say, "It's been a great year," or "This year has been amazing for me." But to make it more specific and interesting, add details. For example, "This year has been incredible. I finally got that promotion I was working towards."
Yes, and I think it's important to mention that native speakers don't always focus only on the positive, right? Sometimes the year was tough, and that's okay to express.
Exactly. You can say, "It's been a challenging year," or "This year had its ups and downs." That second phrase is really useful, ups and downs. It means good times and bad times, and it's very natural.
I love that phrase because it's honest, you know? It shows you're being real. And if someone asks you, How was your year? And it wasn't great, you can say, Honestly, it's been rough, or It's been a tough one.
Right. And here's something important for learners to remember. When someone shares something difficult, responding with empathy is key. You can say, "I'm sorry to hear that," or "That sounds really challenging." These show you're listening and you care.
Absolutely. Now let's talk about achievements because the end of the year is when people love to share what they accomplished. What are some good ways to talk about that?
You can use phrases like, "I'm really proud of," followed by what you did. For example, "I'm really proud of how much I improved my English this year." Or you can say, "One of my highlights this year was," and then describe it.
Oh, highlights. That's such a good word. It means the best moments or most important achievements, right?
Exactly. Highlights is perfect for summarizing the best parts. You might say, "The highlight of my year was definitely my trip to London," or "Getting my certification was definitely a highlight."
And I bet a lot of our listeners have English learning as one of their highlights this year. Now, what about when we want to talk about things we didn't accomplish? Because let's be honest, not everything goes according to plan.
That's very true. You can say, "I didn't get to," or "I wasn't able to." For example, "I didn't get to travel as much as I wanted," or "I wasn't able to finish that course I started." These are honest but not negative.
And here's where I think learners sometimes get confused. They want to talk about regrets, but they don't know how to express it naturally. What would you suggest?
Good point. For minor regrets, you can say, "I wish I had," followed by the past participle. For example, "I wish I had spent more time with my family," or "I wish I had started learning Spanish sooner."
That structure is so useful. I wish I had, and it's not too heavy, right? It's just a gentle way of expressing something you wanted to do differently.
Exactly. Now, another big part of end-of-the-year conversations is talking about lessons learned. You might say, "This year taught me," or "I learned that." For example, "This year taught me the importance of work-life balance."
Oh, I love that. This year taught me. That's beautiful because it shows growth and reflection. And speaking of growth, let's talk about New Year's resolutions because that's coming up.
Yes, resolutions are huge. The most common way to talk about them is my New Year's resolution is to, for example, my New Year's resolution is to exercise more, or my resolution is to read one book per month.
And here's a fun fact. A lot of native speakers also joke about breaking their resolutions. You might hear someone say, I already broke my resolution by mid-January.
That's so true. But on a more serious note, instead of just resolutions, you can also talk about goals or intentions. You could say, next year I want to focus on, or my goal for next year is to.
Right, and I think intentions sounds a bit more flexible than resolutions, which can feel very strict. You might say, my intention is to be more present, or I intend to prioritize my health.
Great distinction. Now let's practice some real conversations. Imagine you're at a holiday party and someone asks you, so, how was your year? What would you say?
Okay, so I might say, oh, it's been really good overall. I had some challenges with work, but I also got to travel a lot, which was amazing. How about you?
Perfect. You acknowledged both positives and challenges, and you turned the question back to them. That's very natural. Here's another scenario. Someone says to you, can you believe it's almost the new year? How do you respond?
I know, right? This year flew by. I feel like it was just January yesterday. Do you have any plans for New Year's Eve?
Excellent. You agreed with them, added your own feeling, and kept the conversation going with a question. That's exactly how native speakers do it.
Now, what about when we want to express hope for the coming year? What are some natural phrases for that?
You can say, I'm looking forward to, followed by a noun or gerund. For example, I'm looking forward to new opportunities next year, or I'm really looking forward to spending more time with my family.
And you can also say, I'm hopeful that, right? Like, I'm hopeful that next year will be calmer, or I'm hopeful things will improve.
Absolutely. Another common one is here's to, which is often used in toasts, but also in general conversation. You might say, here's to a fresh start, or here's to better things ahead.
I love that one. It's so optimistic. Now, let's talk about some common mistakes learners make when discussing the end of the year.
One big mistake is using the wrong tenses. When you're talking about the year that's ending, use present perfect for experiences. I've traveled to 3 countries this year, not I traveled to 3 countries. The present perfect connects the past to now.
That's such an important distinction. And what about when people want to talk about something that happened at a specific time this year?
Then you use simple past with a time marker. For example, I got promoted in March, or I started learning English in January. The key is present perfect for general experiences, simple past for specific moments.
Got it. And I think another mistake I've noticed is that learners sometimes sound too formal when they're having casual conversations about the year. How can they sound more natural?
Use contractions and conversational phrases. Instead of it has been a good year, say it's been a good year. Instead of I am excited about the new year, say I'm so excited about next year.
Yes, those little contractions make such a huge difference. And don't be afraid to use filler words like, I mean, or honestly. They make you sound more natural and thoughtful.
Exactly. Here's an example. Honestly, this year has been a roller coaster, you know? But I mean, I've learned so much, so I'm grateful.
That sounds so natural. Now, what about workplace conversations? Because the end of the year at work has its own language, right?
Definitely. In professional settings, you might hear year-end review or annual review. That's when you discuss your performance. You could say, I have my year-end review next week.
And people also talk about wrapping things up or closing out the year, which means finishing projects and tasks before the new year begins.
Right. You might hear someone say, I'm trying to wrap up all my projects before the holidays, or let's close out this quarter strong.
Okay, I want to give our listeners a little challenge. Let's create some example sentences they can practice saying out loud. Ready?
Great idea. Here's the first one. This year has been full of surprises, both good and bad, but I'm proud of how much I've grown.
Perfect. Here's another. I didn't accomplish everything I wanted to, but I learned so much, and that's what really matters.
Nice. How about this one? I'm looking forward to a fresh start next year and focusing on what truly makes me happy.
Beautiful. And here's one more. The end of the year always makes me reflective, and I'm grateful for the people who supported me through everything.
Those are all excellent practice sentences. Now, I want to emphasize something important. When you're having these conversations, show genuine interest in the other person's experience too.
Yes, it's not just about sharing your own year, it's about connecting. Ask follow-up questions like, what was the best part of your year? Or what are you most proud of?
Exactly. And if someone shares something vulnerable or difficult, acknowledge it. Say things like, that must have been hard, or I really admire how you handled that.
Now, as we're wrapping up, see what I did there? Let's talk about how to end these conversations gracefully.
Nice. You can use phrases like, here's to a great year ahead, or I hope next year brings you everything you're hoping for. These are warm and positive.
And if you're saying goodbye at the end of the year, you can say Happy New Year in advance or wishing you all the best for the new year.
Those are perfect. You know, I think what makes end-of-year conversations so special is that they're really about human connection, reflecting together, supporting each other, and looking forward with hope.
That's so beautifully said, Alex. And for our listeners, remember, these conversations don't have to be perfect. They just need to be genuine and from the heart.
Absolutely. And the more you practice these phrases and expressions, the more natural they'll become. Start with small conversations, maybe with a language partner, or even with yourself in the mirror.
Yes, and you know what? We'd love to hear from you. Tell us in the comments, what was your highlight of this year, and what's one goal you have for next year? Share it in English. We want to see you practice.
And if you found this episode helpful, make sure to subscribe to Talk English, hit that like button, and share this with anyone who's learning English. We're here to support your journey every step of the way.
Thank you so much for listening, everyone. Here's to ending this year strong and starting the next one even stronger.
Happy learning, and we'll see you in the next episode.